Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm talking about a new romantic comedy of all things, because I know we don't really get very many of them anymore. But here we are in 2026, and we finally have a new romantic comedy that's trying to be a little bit more on the raunchy side, I would say, kind of more along the line of like an American Pie or something like that. And that is the film One Night Only. This is from the same director as Easy A with Emma Stone from roughly, I would say, what would that be, like 16 years ago or so? So Will Gluck, who did that film, also made this movie. And in this film, you guys, it's a very unusual scenario with this film because, for those who might know the film franchise The Purge, it's kind of like that, but in comedy form. And what I mean by that is this film is about what if people on Congress basically passed a bill where one day out of the year they were able to commit infidelity, they were able to, do premarital sex and all this stuff that, we really wouldn't be able to do, in real life probably. And basically, you give all those people who want to commit all that stuff one day out of the year to kind of get it out of their system. But then for the other 364 days out of the year, there's going to be more laws, there's going to be more restrictions, there's going to be signage and all this other stuff to make sure that they're not having sex before marriage and they're not, doing stuff in their marriage that would harm both the man and the woman in the long term and all that other stuff. And so basically, that's what this film is. It's essentially Congress passes a bill where one day out of the year, specifically 12 hours out of one day out of the year, between 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., uh, men and women can perform any kind of sexual act that they want to, whether it's going against their marriage, whether it's singles trying to find a partner they can eventually marry, and all this other stuff. And throughout the film, we follow two characters played by Callum Turner and Monica Barbaro from Top Gun Maverick. And for those who don't know Callum Turner, he played Newt Scamander's brother in the Fantastic Beasts, the sequels of those anyway. And so Callum Turner runs this pizzeria. He got out of this relationship where he almost married this girl played by Maya Hawke. Things didn't work out. He kind of knows what he wants in a relationship, but he also kind of doesn't really know either. And so, like a lot of other people, he uses this one night out of the year to kind of really find out um, what exactly he's looking for. All these women that are still single and stuff. What exactly does he like about some of them? What does he not like about some of them? And then with Monica Barboa, she is a person that basically sings the jingles for these commercials for medical products that you need a prescription for your doctor for. So like she'll sing the Ozempic song, or she'll sing the song that you need a prescription for to take care of eczema or something like that. And so she's in a position too where she kind of knows what she wants. She's clearly into singers and people that like to be creative and all this other stuff. But she's single too, like the Callum Turner character is, and so she's also using this night to kind of really figure out what she wants out of a man. And so the two of them eventually cross paths, and through over the course of this film, they are trying to kind of help each other out. But there's times throughout this night where Monica Barboa might need something, and she's willing to step on the toes of Callum Turner to get what she needs, and then vice versa. There's times in the night where Callum Turner thinks that he's hooking up with somebody, but he has to step on Monica Barboa's toes in order to do that, and things like that. So over the course of this film, the two of them have to figure out what exactly do they want. What does this one night out of the year really mean to the two of them? Is it just kind of a stupid little one night stand thing like a lot of other people are doing with their whoever partners they're meeting throughout the night and all that other stuff? Or are they really going to turn this thing around and really turn it into, maybe possibly the two of them falling in love? So over the course of this film, we have to figure out what exactly is Callum Turner after, what is Monica Barboa after, and are they going to end up? Are they just going to help each other out in the long term? Are they just going to enjoy a pizza at one point in the night, like the trailers suggest, even by the posters of the movie too? And so there's all these questions have to get answered over the course of One Night Only. So overall, guys, I thought this film was okay. It's one of those films where when I first heard about it, I thought it sounded really funny. A lot of the trailers and the marketing I thought were pretty impressive for it. And believe it or not, I got to meet Molly Ringwald years ago at a convention. And so when I found out that she was going to play the mother of Callum Turner in this movie, I was obviously really excited about that. So I'm always kind of excited to see what projects she's still, getting involved with over the years. And so I was maybe hoping even potentially maybe a John Hughes flavor in the film at some point, but not so much, unfortunately. I think it was just maybe a project that she was interested in or heard about and wanted to get involved with, more than likely, when it comes to Molly Ringwald being in the movie. But overall, there's things about this film that I like. It is one of those things, kind of like The Purge, where you kind of have to run with the gimmick after a while. It is one of those things where if you put too much of real life into it, you will know right away. There's no way Congress would ever pass a bill to make an event like this happen yearly. I just can't see that happening. And it's just one of those things too where um, we really don't get a lot of raunchy R-rated films anymore. So it's one of those things where once we get one, it is kind of neat to kind of see what the current state of them look like, even if they're never going to be, another American Pie or another Knocked Up or another 40-Year-Old Virgin. I don't think we're ever going to get something like those ever again. But it is kind of fun to see where the R-rated comedies still land today. And so I'm going to go over some positives and negatives about the film as to why it's okay. There's things about it that are enjoyable. There's also things about One Night Only that really could have been better, and I think some things about it that kind of hurt the film in the long term as well. So for my positives of the film, I do think the chemistry between Monica Barboa and Callum Turner are very good here. I've always been impressed with Monica Barboa. Ever since I saw her in Top Gun Maverick playing the character of Phoenix, I knew her career was going to go in good directions. I really like that Complete Unknown film she did with James Mangold a couple years ago. So I'm hoping she'll kind of land more projects like that. And she also has a very pretty singing voice, which she also gets to show off in this film too, just based off her character's career goals and all that kind of stuff. Callum Turner, I've seen him in a couple things every once in a while. He's one of those actors where I'm still kind of trying to get used to him. I think he's pretty decent here as a leading role. It is one of those things I have noticed online. Some people think he's not quite ready for something as huge as James Bond or anything, because I know he's been auditioning for stuff like that. I don't know if he's quite ready for something that huge yet. But as a leading man in this film, he did pretty good. I think him and Monica Barboa in particular have great chemistry. I think that's what makes the film work as well as it does in certain moments. So I think the fact that the two of them know how to play off of each other really well, whether it's meant to be funny, whether it's meant to be dramatic, whether it's meant to be romantic, I think the two of them play off of each other really well, and that's kind of where some of the best moments in the film can be found. I also thought the use of extras in this film was also pretty funny, and it's kind of a rare compliment to give a film is how the extras are depicted in the movie, but this film does have a great job of directing the extras as to what exactly the director wants out of the certain scenes in the movie, because there are moments where Callum Turner or Monica Barboa or one of the characters in the film are like walking down the street and they're clearly watching people committing these really terrible sexual acts to other people. And so how the film depicts these extras, even small things like a character riding a bus and everybody's kind of making out with each other while they're riding the bus. Things like, they're at a restaurant and they're all making out, or they're knocking the tables over because they want to have sex with each other right away. Just how the use of extras I thought were depicted in the film really adds to just how outrageous this one night event was throughout the year, as the film tries to make it out to be how this bill got passed and everything. So I thought the use of extras in this film overall were pretty funny, and it was kind of fun to see how this world depicts this event like this, and how the extras themselves chose to depict how the event might look like if it really were to happen. I also like how the film shows how this night would play out. I do like how there is a lot of places where they would be sold out of condoms. There's a lot of places where places would get robbed. There's a lot of places where at the beginning of the event, because it does start at 7 p.m. and end at 7 a.m., there's a lot of restaurants that get booked up right away. I like how the streets are kind of filled, because the film I think is in New York City, I want to say. The streets are usually filled up to the max of people, specifically single people. So I like how the film does show how the night would play out overall. So I thought that aspect of the film was well handled, even if certain aspect of the script isn't exactly up to par for other things. But I do like how the film does try to depict how this overall night would play out for everybody. I also like how the film uses music throughout, whether it's Monica Barboa singing something, whether it's um, how the music is kind of elevating the moment, because there is a lot of scenes where clearly they're using pop music or other things to elevate a certain moment in the movie. So I do like how the overall film is depending on how they're choosing the music and whether it is something the musical score is adding to a scene in the movie. So I do like how overall how the film is depicting its music and how the music is depicted overall in the film too. I also like how the film does depict how creatives view their fantasies around them. So if Monica Barboa is this creative, and she likes to have these fantasies, even of a really handsome guy kind of taking her off her feet at a random point in the day. The film depicts that in a unique way. If it's something like how she's hoping the Callum Turner character will, turn the pizzeria into kind of their love layer for the next hour and stuff like that, so they can make love. How things, certain things like that are depicted, I thought were kind of funny in this movie, and how the film depicts creatives and how we kind of go out of our mind when it comes to what we really want with something. I thought was also well handled, so I thought that aspect of the story was well handled too. But for my negatives of this movie, unfortunately, because the film is trying so hard to get you interested in this concept, at the end of the day, I just can never see this law ever getting passed. And I think that's where the film really becomes not believable after a while. There's just a lot of times in the movie where I'm just like, Congress would never pass a law like this. Not only would they not pass a law like this, I don't think something like this would even interest them very much. It's just like, well, if you're single, you're single, and if you're married, you're married. And if you're married, try not to cheat on your partner. If you're single, find your partner responsibly. I think that's just common sense at the end of the day. And for Congress to kind of make a whole day out of this idea, I thought was very hard to buy into in this movie. They even have a scene where Monica Barboa is watching it on the TV and stuff like that, or how they founded the holiday and all this other stuff. And I just can't see Congress passing something like this. It's just one of those things where I know the film is trying to get you to buy into the concept, but after a while, it's just really hard to buy into. The film also never really takes a stance on anything. It's really not doesn't comment on one night stands. It doesn't really comment on love. It doesn't really comment on marriage. It doesn't comment on single people. It's just a film that never really takes a stance on anything. It just kind of has a really outrageous concept, throws some single people into this scenario, and it never really says anything by the time the film is over with. So by the time the film concludes and the credits start rolling, you're kind of left with a film that doesn't really say anything to begin with, unfortunately. There's also some extremely flat humor in the movie, and I know a film really is trying hard with its humor when I'm in an audience and almost nobody in the audience is laughing throughout the movie. I actually even had a guy next to me that just kind of left the screening out of nowhere, so who knows what that's about. But yeah, there's some really flat humor in this movie. Without giving too much away, all I'm going to say is there's a scene where Monica Barboa really thinks she's going to hit it off with this musician guy, and they go back to his place, and the way clearly he's trying to be raunchy and funny at the same time, but what's this song that he's making up on the top of his head really is not very funny in that moment. And it's not just the only scene where that happens. There's just a lot of scenes where clearly they're trying to be funny, and everybody is just straight faced as they're watching it because it just really is not a very funny thing to watch. So whether it's something funny that happened on the set that day, or maybe it was funnier on paper with a script, there is a lot of moments here, unfortunately, that do fall really flat in this movie. I also thought the third act just really didn't know how to end. It just kind of refused to end. It almost kind of felt like they filmed 4 different endings and really didn't know which one to use, so they just kind of threw all of them at the screen at the same time and just kind of ended it once all 4 endings happened. It almost kind of felt like Clue the movie, where it's just like, well, what if this person did this and what if this person did that? It almost kind of had that kind of feeling to it. So yeah, the third act really refuses to end. It just kind of feels like it's throwing out every possible ending it can think of, rather than just choosing the best possible ending to use for the movie itself. And so I thought that aspect of the film really kind of dragged, unfortunately. It really could have used a better third act in the script. Unfortunately, too, this film really doesn't have any rewatch value. Like I said, it doesn't really make a stance on anything, and it really doesn't get you to buy into how this law would get passed. And I think that's what hurts this film overall in general, is there's no really a reason to rewatch it. It just kind of happens, and there's really no reason to ever have that urgency to ever feel like you have to go back to this movie. And then for my last point, too, unfortunately, the film is very predictable. Um, you'll know exactly where the film goes if you've seen any romantic comedy over the course of your life. It's just a film where there's really not a lot of surprises. It really is a film that's very easy to predict where it's going, and I just never felt surprised over the course of this movie. But overall, I'm going to give One Night Only a 7.5 out of 10. There's things about it that I think are good. Like I said, the best thing about it is the chemistry between Monica Barbaro and Callum Turner. So maybe they had the screen chemistry of a lifetime, and that's how the two of them got their parts in the movie. Like I said, other funny things about it too, like the use of extras, how the overall night plays out is depicted very well, the use of music, how creatives have their fantasies was very well handled. But like I said, there's other things about it that really don't work. Like I can never see this law getting passed. It doesn't take a stance on anything. The humor is very flat in this movie. The third act just refuses to end by the time you get to the third act. There's really no rewatch value, and unfortunately, like I said, the film is very predictable too. So 7.5 out of 10 for me. I would say rent this one if you're really curious about this movie, if maybe the trailers really interested you or you thought they were really funny. I would say just rent this one. I can't send you to a theater to see this one. 7.5 out of 10 for me. One Night Only is a okay film, unfortunately.